What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central. On today's episode, I'll actually be going into the mailbag in a different way. I'm going to be taking some hot takes from commenters on the page, and we'll be talking about those comments. We also have a voicemail, and then at the end of the show, we'll be previewing the Bulls game this afternoon against the Portland Trailblazers. We'll get into all that and more right after this. All right, so because Bulls fans have been so hot right now, listen, the Spurs loss, the loss against the Spurs for the Bulls has really brought out a lot of vitriol in the comments the last few days. And listen, I'm not one to say that I don't understand it, right? I definitely understand, especially as people who are invested in this team fully, for them to be upset with the Bulls' lack of effort and execution in the game against the Spurs. But some of you guys are really upset. And, I understand some of that upset, but I wanted to bring up some of these comments and just have a little bit more fun with it. We'll preview the game against the Trailblazers after that. We're going to do it a little reverse. I usually always end with the mailbag. We're going to start with it today, just to bring a different energy, to move some things around. You may see an appearance from Petty Roosevelt. Probably not. Petty Roosevelt has been really in hibernation lately, but we're going to go ahead. We're going to get into this first comment. I'm going to put the comment up here. And this one is from Carlos DeAndre. Trade Zach for a star, two-way player, or a couple of young prospects and some draft picks. I would rather trade DeMar, but he's not going to get you much. Zach is a great player, but he will never win in this league. He does not have the intangibles to be a winner. He plays losing basketball, is not competitive enough. Maybe he'll prove me wrong in the playoffs, but his IQ and effort are extremely low. Okay. Now, again, I, in my last video, have been vocal about us admitting the things that are going on with this team, being able to admit the faults with the team, being able to analyze this team in a correct and honest manner, right? And some Bulls fans don't want to hear it. Some Bulls fans, they are so C-red that when you bring up things, they want to blame it on the easy things. They want to blame it on, we just need to go after big. Not Javante, Jeff Green. I'm sorry, not Jeff. God damn it. Jeremy Grant would fix everything that we have wrong, even though he's not an elite defender at all by any stretch of the imagination. Or you have the Bulls fans that are, once Lonzo and Zoe comes back, all this is going to be fixed once Zoe and Caruso comes back. Even though a lot of these trends that we're seeing were rearing their ugly heads throughout this whole season. Yes, they help with the defense, but they don't fix a lot of what we're seeing being problems with that. Okay, talked about all that. But, you have those fans, right? And then you have the fans that, because the Bulls have been losing more games than winning lately, that they're ready to just say, we were never really contenders. We got caught up in the wins and stuff like that. This is one of those comments that I feel fall that way. This type of thinking, in my opinion, is just going to lead us, like, you're basically doing the exact same thing they did with Jimmy Butler. You're leading us in perpetual rebuilding with this type of thinking. Even if you think that Zach isn't the player to lead us, you still don't just give him up for young players and a couple of picks. You build on top of that. You use Zach as a building block and say, hey, this is what we have. This is the player that we have. How can we build this roster in a way that mitigates or helps cover up some of his issues? Do we need to bring in somebody who's a better vocal leader? Do we need to bring somebody in who's a better two-way player to put beside him? Those are the type of conversations that you have when you want to actually build a team out. This mindset and this thinking of, trade Zach for a two-way player or a couple of young prospects is going to lead us right back in being in a rebuild forever. So no, I don't agree with this. I honestly think this is one of the most ridiculous comments, right? To say to trade Zach, and you even in the comment acknowledge that he's a great player. So what do you do when you have a great player as a builder? There are a lot of teams that have been in rebuilds for a long time that don't have even a player that you can label as great. They have good. Zach is a player that you want to build around. He's so versatile, especially offensively. And he even showed, like I said, and I talked about, without having a vocal defensive IQ player like Lonzo next to him, yes, you're seeing him kind of regress back some, but Zach is more than capable defensively, depending on how else you build this team around him. You want to continue to do that. You don't just give up on that player. You don't just trade him away. I understand that Zach is going into and probably going to get a max contract and maybe even qualify for the Supermax. And that has led some Bulls fans to say, hey, maybe we should think about not re-signing him. Maybe we should think about what else we can do. But it's ridiculous in my opinion. It's not something that's going to happen, and it's really just going to set this team back. And don't get me wrong, even if for some reason the Bulls were to trade Zach LaVine again, I don't even like talking about it because it's so ridiculous to me. We have a better roster overall than what we had at any point in time, to where you still have some nice things to build off of there, but still, I think this is ridiculous. Let me know what you guys think down below in this comment. I just, like I said, I think this is one of those reactionary things. And like I said, to a degree, but we have to be realistic even in our reactions. Like, come on, man. Come on, Carlos. Come on, bro. Petty almost came out. I'm not going to lie to you, but I hope that I was able to answer that and respond to that in a sensible manner rather than let Petty Roosevelt come out. We save Petty Roosevelt. Petty's really focused on the media right now. I don't want to attack our brethren here in the community that we're building right now. But with that being said, we're going to move on to the next one. This one's from Robert Bingington. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And once again, we got Fleeced in the Vooch trade. Let's acknowledge it and move on. Again, huge overreaction. Nobody's saying Vooch is a perfect player. You were never going to get a perfect player. But Vooch, statistically, to rank in the top 10, the top 15 amongst all starting centers, that's not something you didn't get Fleeced in that. Look at what Wendell Carter's doing. Like, yeah, Wendell Carter's young. He shows some flashes. Like, nobody's saying that. But he's not going to give you the output that Vooch did, period. Vooch is also still ranked 7th in defensive rating amongst all centers. Again, I'm not in no way blind to say that we don't need some defensive help, but Vooch is not as bad as the defender as some of you guys try to make him out to be. Yes, some of his lapses, especially the big ones, you look at and you're just like, wow, Vooch, come on. And I can acknowledge that. But to say that we got fleeced in the Vooch trade, no, that's a huge overreaction, my brother. I think that you are kind of you're overreacting a bit there. But again, this is just my opinion. I've always said my opinion holds no more weight than anybody else's here. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you agree with me or do you agree with Robert? I'm sure there are some people, Robert, who are going to agree with you on this and do think, hey, maybe the Bulls should have just kept Wendell Carter. But then again, look at the domino effects that happen with that. Do we get DeMar if we don't have Vooch? We know Lonzo was probably coming either way. But and then even with that said, how much better of a team would we really be with having Wendell Carter still on this team? Answer those questions for me down below. Let me know what you guys think. This next one is also about Vooch. This one is from Flyaway Shy 33422. And his comment is, I'm scared to say this, but is Vooch the new Carlos Boozer? To go back on what I said last time, in no way is Vooch comparable to Carlos Boozer. Vooch, as I said, statistically to rank in his position in the top 10, the top 15 of every single statistical category, that Carlos Boozer wishes he can do that. On a bad day, Vooch can sneeze you a double-double. On a bad day, right? And then even on a down scoring day, but a positive overall game, he can get you close to a triple-double. We weren't expecting that. We would never have gotten that from Carlos Boozer. Carlos Boozer had one really good season here on the Chicago Bulls. But again, I think that we are now, because so the way that I have this, and I like to think and I like to break things down on why it's going on. Vooch's season started off bad, right? He put together a nice string of games afterwards, and then I think that put people on alert to just look at Vooch. Then on top of that, because we don't have the front court player next to him that we originally planned to, it's magnifying some of his issues. I think if Patrick Williams would have never went down, Patrick Williams would have grew into being a power forward, grew into his role on this team. Not to say that Vooch still wouldn't have some of his individual one-on-one lapses that he has, but I think overall the negativity of the front court defense on this team would be a little bit lessened. And I think that we wouldn't be magnifying it as much as we do. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below. But to compare Vooch to Carlos Boozer, I think that's ridiculous, man. I'm sorry. I have to be honest with it. I really think that that's a ridiculous comparison. Yeah, that's just my opinion on it. Everybody's free to have theirs. Let me know yours down below. Lastly, we got one voicemail. Let's go ahead and get into this voicemail. This one is from Marvin.
Hey, what's going on, Haize? My name's Marvin, man. Had never had a chance to really get conversation in with you guys, so I thought I'd leave you a voicemail. What I wanted to start off with saying was about last night's game against the Spurs. I'm a regular contributor and commentator on Windy City Breeze. And I mentioned this to Pat last night. I really felt like last night was a motivational coaching problem for us. I think Popovich got his guys up knowing DeRozan was coming in town. He got his guys wired, got him ready to go. And I think Billy let us down a little bit now. You can count on one hand how many bad coaching jobs Billy did this year. But last night was one of them. the motivational factor of DeRozan coming back home to play in San Antonio was a big factor last night. I'm not excusing the fact that the guys didn't play hard, and the defense wasn't there for us. But I think each team plays to the quality of their coaching, and I think the coach didn't get us ready last night. Now this is becoming a trend of us having bad games against pretty bad teams. I think we'll be all right. And I just wanted to leave this comment with you, just so maybe you could share it with the fans. And I did want to say also, I'm a regular contributor and calling for the New York shows also, and that fan base has completely flipped. And I want to leave this for all of us in the fans. We want to stay 100 with our team. Now we want to hold them accountable, yes. But we want to make sure that we don't fade on our teams, man. I mean, because the Knicks fans, probably 60% of them are turned on their club. So in closing, man, I just want to say I think you do a great job. And also, I'm going to be commenting pretty often. I hadn't had a chance to get with you. I'm on the Windy City Breeze pretty often. But I really think last night we were totally out-coached, and we didn't have it in us. And if you score 122, it's usually enough to win a game. If you give up more than that, you're not prepared. I believe that falls back on coaching. Yes, it is effort with the players, but if you look back at the end of the game, with 2 minutes or so to go, Billy still wasn't pressing. He still wasn't trapping. And I had a kind of, a mishap with Pat last night about that, saying that he didn't think that he should have did it because they wasn't hustling and they wasn't giving effort. Well, a lot of times, if your coach don't have you do it, you won't give the effort. So you get this message, man, just share it with the fans for me. And I think like I said, I think you do a great job, and I'll be commenting with you later. Take care. Hey.
Okay, and Marvin here brings up a great point. And a concern that I shared in the last video. I do worry about Billy Donovan's inability to make adjustments, what that means when he faces elite coaches in the playoffs. And how the weaknesses of this team can be exploited. One thing that you touched on here is the lack of Bulls' defensive intensity, and what that means from a coaching standpoint. This is what I'll say with this, right? And I think some people forget that in that Boston Celtics championship run, Tom Thibodeau was really, for all intents and purposes, the defensive coordinator. He orchestrated that defense. Now, Doc Rivers has had okay defense and solid defense on almost every team that he coached, but that Tom Thibodeau really was able to coach and have the respect of the players and really orchestrate that defense. We may be seeing that we need something like that here, right? And of course, Tom Thibodeau was a head coaching candidate, but maybe we need, and I don't know if this happens or not. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if Billy Donovan does kind of loosen the reins defensively to his assistant coaches. But with that being said, I do think that we can benefit from, because Billy Donovan's offense, he's shown an ability to be able to put together offensive schemes with players that sometimes don't fit together. And look at that throughout his coaching career. But with that being said, I think the better conversation that needs to be had from that is, do we need to bring in an assistant that has a more defensive effectiveness, right? Or better defensive scheme, and really just say, hey, Billy, listen, yes, I'm going to work with you on it, but maybe a coach that Billy respects enough and trusts enough to say, hey, for us to be the team that we can be, you have to handle the defense. You have to handle and execute the defense. That's one thing to maybe look into it with. But with that being said, yes, I've acknowledged the coaching issues. I've acknowledged my what fears I have with Billy Donovan's coaching. Again, I'm not with some. You get some comments that we've had, and I almost pulled a couple of them, but I didn't want to make this overall too negative. With people saying that Billy Donovan just isn't the coach for the Chicago Bulls to really get us to that next level. And I'm not ready to say that quite yet, but I will say, and I have acknowledged this, and this may be a hot take or not, is that I really think that if we're having the same problems by the end of next season, Billy Donovan's going to be gone. I think if you look at AK and Eversley and they think, hey, we are willing and we can do enough to get this roster to a point of being a contender, but the coaching, we're getting out coached by pick and rolls, things like that you can very well see maybe they think to make a change. But again, that's far down the road. Now to catch up on the last part of what you said, and this is kind of what I've addressed so far in this video. Yes, Bulls fans need to rein it in. I haven't seen as much of it, to be honest, as the Knicks. Like I said, my best friend's a Knicks fan. A couple of people in my life that I'm close to are Knicks fans as well. They have completely turned on the team. I think that this team, we came into the season kind of saying, hey, let's have this wait and see approach. We really believe in the roster that they built, But then we had so much success early on that then when things started going left, now players are like, hey, well, maybe I overreacted to that, or fans are, maybe I overreacted to that. But I don't think for the most part people have completely turned on this team. I think people just, they see it, right? They see and they can taste how close we are to that ultimate goal, and they're saying, hey, if we need to get rid of a coach, if we need to get rid of P. Will, if we need to do this, then that, but it's all for the betterment of the team. Whereas Knicks fans right now are really just, they have gone completely bottoms up. But so yeah, I agree with you though, Marvin. Thank you for calling, man. I hope to see you around here a little bit more as well. Let's get into the last thing for today, and that's the Bulls game against the Portland Trailblazers, which is only a few hours away. Overall, I'm not going to even break this one down. The Bulls just need to have effort. The Bulls need to have effort, and something I said in my last video, I need to see the Bulls try to get back on track offensively and defensively. And yes, they scored over 122 points, which is going to get it done more times than not, but that defensive effort, focus, they need to be locked in. We need to get rid of this fear from the players. And I know that's easier said than done. It's going to take time. But one thing that I said in my last video that I'm going to continue to say, I need to see Zach. Zach talks about it in press conferences. He talks about it in interviews. I need to see Zach step up as the leader. That doesn't mean that DeMar can't still be the king of the fourth. That doesn't mean DeMar is still not going to be the calming factor. Does that mean that DeMar's role as a veteran isn't still to be vocal and take players under his wing? But Zach needs to step into being an actual leader. And that means leading by example. That means diving on the floor for tough balls. That means executing and not dropping balls in crunch time. That means calling defensive assignments and playing your man heads up and being focused on the defensive end. That's what I want to see from Zach over the course of the next week before we gear up for Philly and Phoenix, which are not going to be easy at all. So let me know what you guys think down below. What are you expecting from this game against the Portland Trailblazers tonight? I will be here for a halftime hangout and an after game stream. I'm not quite sure yet if I'm going to be able to do a pregame. We're really close to game time, so I'll see with that. But let me know all that and how you guys feel down below. Make sure you're following the podcast at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Also, to leave a text or voicemail. The number for that is 773-270-2799. Like I like to end every episode on. Go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.